Skeletons. Every Minecraft player knows when they hear that distinctive rattle of bones that a living skeleton isn't far away. They mindlessly rush the player, willing to sacrifice everything to exact their bony revenge on the living. But what makes these bags of bones so angry? What leads them to having nothing but hate in their hearts, or in their rib cages where their hearts should be? You might be surprised to learn that these simple mobs have a history that goes back, way back. Stay with us as we uncover the secrets of the skeleton. It all began in a village, much like any other that can be found in the world of Minecraft. Villagers tended crops, raised animals for their meat and wool, chopped down trees to build new structures, and of course, got raided by hostile pillagers. The peaceful villagers who wanted nothing more than to happily exist in their idyllic little town were under attack. The pillagers began burning the villagers' crops and stealing their animals, killing the ones that they couldn't take. They began destroying homes and even cut down trees so that they'd be left without building materials. These pillagers didn't just want to raid the villagers, they wanted to wipe out their very existence. Faced with an existential threat, one of the village's few warriors broke away from the fighting and ran to the center of the town where the village elder lived. Inside, he found the elder sadly watching from a window as the village he had lived in and helped guide for so many years was being destroyed. The warrior remembered that the elder once told a story when he was young, a story about a powerful item hidden somewhere near the village with the power to fight off any enemy. The warrior needed that item. But when he asked the elder, he was surprised when he told him no, that its power wasn't worth what would happen to him if he used it. The warrior wasn't afraid though. He was willing to sacrifice anything to save his village, even if it killed him. And he demanded that the elder tell him where it was. But still, the elder refused. They argued, and the warrior lost his temper. He attacked the old man, shoving him away. The elder fell back through a curtain and disappeared down a dark set of stairs. The warrior passed through the curtain and went down the stairs. There, in the middle of the room next to the body of the old man, was a chest, and inside was a map. As the warrior left the village elder's home, his brother, one of the few other warriors still alive, approached him. He asked what happened, but the warrior told him there was no time to explain, and the two of them set off. The warrior and his brother were able to slip past the invaders and out of the village, and traveled to the nearby cave marked on the map. Inside, hidden behind a statue, was the entrance to a hidden crypt. The crypt descended deep into the earth and served as a tomb for countless ancient champions. Eventually, the warrior and his brother reached the bottom of the crypt and saw a staff sitting on a pedestal. This must be it, the item that had the power to save the village. Before they could grab it, though, they were attacked by a dragon. It must have been imprisoned there years ago to serve as a guardian of the staff. The warrior wouldn't give up though, and he charged the dragon, his brother right behind him. They battled in the bottom of the crypt, the warrior motivated by the thought of protecting his village, and his brother motivated by the thought of protecting his older brother. The brothers were winning, and the dragon was getting weaker and weaker. But then it lashed out with a final desperate attack and killed the warrior's brother. He was devastated, but couldn't let his sadness stop him from completing his task, and he finally slayed the dragon. The warrior was finally able to acquire the mysterious staff. He raised the staff up into the air and unleashed its power. There was a flash of strange green light, and the warrior turned to find that his brother was once again standing next to him, only it wasn't his brother. It was the shambling skeleton of his brother. He was standing by his side once again, ready to fight. And his brother wasn't the only one who had been summoned from death. The skeletons of the ancient champions who had been lying in the crypt charged at them. The brothers fought off the undead champions, defeating the seemingly endless waves of skeletons, and emerged from the cave with the power needed to save the village. They returned to the village, where the pillagers had defeated nearly every able-bodied warrior, but when the warrior raised the staff and used its magical power, they were summoned back from the dead. The army of skeletons, who had once been the defenders of the village, attacked the pillagers once again. Whenever the number of skeletons grew low, the warrior simply summoned them back to life once again, using the power of the staff over and over. He noticed, though, that after summoning the skeletons several times, some of them seemed confused about who they were supposed to be fighting. Some of them would actually attack the villagers instead, and the warrior would have to defeat them himself to prevent them from hurting the innocent people. Eventually, though, the last of the pillagers were defeated, and the village was safe once again, protected by the skeleton army. But when the sun came up, the skeletons began to burn and die. The warrior also felt uncomfortable in the light. He knew that he needed to get inside, but his own home had been destroyed in the raid. He was determined to continue protecting the village, so he appointed himself the new leader of the village and moved into the house that the village elder had once lived in. The villagers were glad to have the protection of their powerful new leader, but many started to notice that he was acting strangely. He never seemed to appear in the light anymore, insisting that all his speeches to the townspeople happen at night. They also began to question whether he was the right person to be in charge when he announced that the only way they would stay safe from future pillager raids was to shore up their own strength by growing in size, and that meant taking over more territory. Leading his army of undead warriors, the warrior descended upon the nearby villages, bringing them under his control. Many surrendered without a fight, frightened by the size of his skeleton army. Those that did try to fight back didn't last long. Even if they were able to survive the initial attacks, the warrior just kept summoning the skeletons back to life, over and over and over. A never-ending wave of reanimated raiders. The skeletons who fought for him continued to become more and more uncontrollable, though. It seemed that when he first summoned a warrior after dying, they would immediately remember the alliances they held in life. But as time would go on, they'd start to forget who was an ally and who was an enemy. Eventually, they'd become completely mindless, attacking anyone who came near, even the warrior himself. The Lord of the Skeletons lived his life entirely in darkness. The sun had become unbearable to him, burning his skin in the same way it would burn his skeleton army. The lands that the warrior king controlled grew larger and larger. Depending on who he was talking to, he would claim, with each new area he took over, that it was all in the name of protection, either to keep the center of his empire safe or to protect the new place he was taking over. But not everyone saw it the same way that he did. Villages on the edge of the warrior king's sphere of influence started to fear the inevitable arrival of his skeleton armies. Many tried putting up their own defenses, but they were never enough. There would always be too many skeletons. They would have to go right to the root of the problem to solve it. They needed to take out the king. In one of the villages now closest to the Skeleton King's empire, a young warrior took it upon himself to protect his hometown. He trained hard each and every day. He mined deep into the ground to find new materials, to make stronger weapons and armor. He ventured far and wide to get enchantments that would help him if he ever got the chance to finally face the Emperor of the Undead. Eventually, he was as ready as he would ever be. His exotic weapons and armor gleamed in the sun, and for when it was dark, he had a magical enchanted torch that would produce so much light it almost seemed like daytime. And it was a good thing he was now prepared, since word was coming down to the village that the Skeleton King was on the move. His army would be at the village that night. The rumors were right, and soon the warrior's village was under attack by skeletons. They had never fought against a foe as determined and well-equipped as the warrior, though. He beat the skeletons back, breaking them apart with his sword and burning them with his enchanted torch. The king kept summoning them back to life, but the warrior kept pressing forward, getting closer and closer to the king with each wave of skeletons he cut down. Finally, he reached the king himself, who, in the moment when he finally no longer had his army of skeletons to protect him, turned and ran. The warrior followed after, chasing the king until they reached his giant, empty fortress. The warrior chased the king inside to his throne room. The king stopped and begged the warrior to listen to him. He praised the warrior's skills and toughness. He told him he reminded him of himself when he was a young warrior and offered him the chance to become his prince. The warrior looked around at the lonely throne room in the middle of the massive fortress, and his eyes settled on the king. He was a shadow of his former self, having become a king of living undead. "Well, what will it be?" asked the king. Will you join me?" "No," was the only response from the warrior. "Then you'll serve me in death like all the rest," said the king, who charged him for a final attack. The warrior produced his blindingly bright torch, which burned the king's eyes. He backed up, his skin starting to burn. The warrior kept pushing him back until he was standing on the throne where he once ruled. "I yield! I yield!" cried the king. "I give up! You win!" It was clear the warrior wasn't going to allow him to surrender, though. The only way this could end was with the death of the king, who had caused so much death and destruction. As the warrior prepared to deliver the final killing blow, the king, in a moment of clarity, embraced his end. He told the warrior that he saw now that he had been corrupted by power in the staff and was glad to have it all be over. The warrior then struck the king with his sword, putting an end to his reign for good. The warrior picked up the staff that the king had once used to exert so much power. He looked it over and then, without any delay, took it to one of the magma pools decorating the sides of the throne room and tossed it in. The king was surprised when he opened his eyes to find that he wasn't dead. He was in someplace dark and cold. It was a cave. As he approached the dim light at the entrance of the cave, he looked down to see that his hands were bony and white, just like the rest of his body. He was now a skeleton himself. A player suddenly appeared in the entrance to the cave, a low-level player, with little more than a wooden pick and sword. The king heard the rattle of bones as several skeletons rushed past him from deeper in the cave and attacked the player. The player made quick work of them, breaking them apart with his simple weapons. The player then turned his eye on the king. The king turned and tried to run, but the player was too quick, and he was struck down. The king woke up again, this time in a dark forest. He was with several other skeletons, and they were running towards something. It was a dark house in the middle of the woods. The king didn't know why they were running towards the house, but it didn't matter. All he knew is that he had to keep charging forward. A player appeared in the doorway of the house, raised her bow, and started shooting arrows at the skeletons. One by one, they fell. And so it repeated. Time after time, he was reborn as a skeleton. Each time, he'd forget a little bit more of the warrior he once was so long ago. Now he'd forever be nothing more than a skeleton. The eternal Skeleton King.